All right, so today we're going to be checking out this Firefly FFVX in this cracked mirror finish. And Pantera fans right away will recognize the inspiration for this guitar, as Dimebag used to play a Washburn of a very similar aesthetic. And then most notably, he was seen using that guitar in the only Damage Plan music video we've ever got before Dimebag was tragically taken from us in 2004 for the song Save Me by Damage Plan. Now Firefly with this guitar, clearly the inspiration is almost one for one, as this guitar looks very similar to that one, and they seem to have copied almost every single detail. I mean, to the look of the pickups, the look of the inlays, and of course the cracked mirror look. The only differences I really see, besides the fact it has 24 frets, the Washburn was only 22, is that the headstock has that, that typical point on the middle of the wings, which is seen in pretty much all of their ML models. But other than that, from a speeding car, this looks like the Washburn model, though of course way less cheaper than the Washburn model, as that one can run multiple thousands of dollars, whereas this one was only $300. So the whole main point of this video is to see what you actually get in this guitar at that $300 price point. But all right, let's go into the specs. So this guitar, it has the typical Firefly layout as far as specifications. It has a mahogany body with a mahogany neck, rosewood fretboard, stainless steel frets with nicely polished ball ends. And also most notably about this guitar, unlike the last Firefly ML I took a look at, I'll leave a link down in the description below, this guitar actually comes equipped with a Floyd Rose named bridge, which is huge, especially at the price point. And from the research I've done and other videos I've watched of other YouTubers reviewing these kinds of bridges, they're pretty much on par with a Floyd Rose Special, give or take several differences in the materials used, and I would assume the manufacturing as well. And I could definitely vouch for this because I do have a DNML that is equipped with an actual Floyd Rose Special, which I also did a review on. I'll leave a link down in the description below for that as well. And from my experience using this bridge, it feels pretty much the same as the Floyd Rose Special. And unfortunately, you're just gonna have to take my word for it, because unfortunately you can't just reach through the screen and try out both bridges for yourself. Rest assured, I can confidently say the similarity is definitely there. All right, so jumping back into the specs, for the pickups, you have a blade style humbucker in the bridge, and you have a regular pole piece humbucker in the neck, clearly trying to go after the look of Dimebag's signature pickup set, as it looks pretty much identical, minus Dimebag's signature on the bridge pickup. Now, taking a look at the inlays, a detail that they did a really good job on, copying from the Washburn model. And now don't quote me on the material, because it doesn't say on the website, so I'm not sure exactly what the material is of the inlays. I'm just going off by how they look. But it's got that cool 45 diagonal split with like mother of pearl on one side and abalone on the other, which is a touch I really do like a lot, I must say. And looking at the cracked mirror finish, obviously it's not real glass, because this thing would be monstrously heavy if it was real glass. I don't think the Washburn model was real glass as well. If you know that information, leave a comment down in the comment section below. And again, the website doesn't say what the material is, but by looking at it, it appears to be plexiglass with like a foil on the surface below the plexiglass, which, as you can see, it does a really good job capturing that broken glass aesthetic really, really well. All right, now taking a look at the fretboard, you have very nicely done stainless steel fretwork, and they went one step further and did nicely polished ball ends, so you have absolutely zero fret sprout, which is really great to see. Now with the nut, I did the measurement is a 42mm locking nut, and like I mentioned earlier, the bridge is in fact a Floyd Rose named floating bridge. And unlike the dime bolt I did my last review on, where it had a unnamed bridge, the arm is one of the greatest things on this bridge. It doesn't sit awkwardly high like a cheap bridge, which you could take out very easily and put back in. The locking nut to twist it back on feels really good, and when you lock it, it actually locks. It doesn't swing loose and just go off the rails out of control like the other bridge on the dime bolt, which is how a Floyd Rose is supposed to be. Easily one of my favorite things about this guitar so far. And now lastly, for your controls, you have 2 volume knobs, 1 tone knob, and a 3-way pickup selector switch. All right, but that's enough talking about the specs. I'm sure you guys want to hear how this guitar sounds and how it plays. So I'm gonna run through both sets of pickups, bridge position, middle position, and neck position in all 3 standards of guitar playing, you know, clean, crunch, and high gain tones. And all the tones I'm gonna be using for this demonstration, I'm gonna be using the ML5 plugin from Amped ML Sound. But all right, let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna start off on clean, and for this plugin tone, there's no effects. There's nothing making the guitar sound better than it is. It's just the plugin on clean with the guitar plugged directly into the interface, and that is all. But all right, let's get into it. All right, moving on to the middle position. All right, and lastly, the neck position. All right, so getting the clean out of the way, because I'm sure you guys want to hear how this guitar handles distortion. For the next tone set, we're going to be doing crunch, or namely the Dream Rhythm preset on the ML5 plugin, and we're going to start on the bridge pickup. All right, moving on to the middle position. All right, and lastly, the neck position. All right, and now lastly, we're going to be moving on to some high gain tones, again using the ML5 plugin. Namely, we're going to be using the Sustain Lead preset, which is as high gain as you could get, with a little bit of delay just to make the lead a little extra thick, not colored too much, you know, just to make it a little more interesting sounding. But all right, let's get into it, and we're going to start with the bridge pickup. All right, and now we're going to be moving on to the middle position. All right, and now lastly, the neck position. Now, before I give my final thoughts on this guitar, I just want to show off the tuning stability of the bridge real quick as best I can, since you guys can't try the bridge for yourself. But what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do any jump cuts. I'm just going to play one chord just to show that the guitar is in tune, then dive the bar, really give it a good wailing on, and then play the same exact chord again. And if there is any differences, you'll definitely be able to hear it. But all right, without hopefully screwing this up, let's get into it. All right, so as you can hear, the guitar is in fact in tune. And now hopefully, without messing up, let me do a couple of dime squeals. You know, like I said, this thing holds tuning fantastic. As you saw, I wailed the crap out of the bar in the other direction, mind you. And as you can hear, still perfectly in tune, extremely well. Like I said in the beginning of the video, this was like my favorite thing about this guitar was the bridge. And it is a Floyd Rose, which again on a guitar for this price point, that's absolutely huge. Let's get into the pros and cons of this guitar and really pick it apart. We'll start with the pros because I can tell you right now there are more pros than there are cons with this guitar. Pros, like I showed already, the bridge is nothing short of amazing, feels really good, actually feels like a legitimate Floyd Rose, and it holds tuning extremely well. Even when you really beat the crap out of this thing, holds the tuning no problem whatsoever. And besides the intentional broken finish, you know, on the back of the guitar, around the body edges, there's no other cracks, there's no blemishes or other imperfections whatsoever. Even with the binding running along the edge, everything is clean cut, perfect as far as I can see. And then playability, this thing plays extremely well. I didn't have to do any setting up out of the box. All I had to do was unlock the locking nut and tune it up, and that's all I've done to it. These are in fact the original strings that came with this guitar, and still it plays amazingly well and sounds absolutely killer. It has a, I wouldn't say a Gibson style neck, it's a C shape for sure. I would say it's probably within that ballpark, but not exactly, if that makes any sense. Basically what I'm saying, it's not like a super drastic C shape like a baseball bat. You know, I would say it's an average C-shaped style neck. And then with the controls, again, everything works perfectly as intended. Knobs feel super smooth when you turn them, and there's no crackling with the pots whatsoever. Same thing with the pickup selector switch. You know, you don't get that like when you switch to like a different pickup, you don't get full signal. Like, I don't know if you've ever had that experience before. Like you'll be on the bridge and then switch to the neck, and then like you get signal, but it's not like full, if that makes any sense. You know, I've had it on a few guitars, but again, like I said, everything works perfectly as intended. So now this leads into really the only con I have with this guitar, and it's not a big deal by any means. I'm really just nitpicking if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But my only gripe with this guitar are the pickups. And it's not the sound. They sound awesome, you know, compared to some past Firefly pickups. But I do wish there was a little bit more gain to them, especially with the neck pickup. I feel like the bridge pickup is fine, but the neck pickup is definitely not as hot as I would like it to be, especially on a guitar that obviously looks like it's made to play metal. You know, I just wish it just had more gain. Like the Dime Bolt guitar I did my last review on those pickups sounded great and had plenty of gain. So with that being said, the score I would give this guitar, and it's a really good score, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. And again, the reason for that score is alone just the pickups. Basically saying, if this guitar had the pickups that were in that dime bolt I took a look at, it would have got a perfect score, without question. But again, like I said, it's not a super big deal. You could easily swap out pickups, or if you don't want to go down that route, you could just, if you're playing through an interface, just raise the input gain a little bit, or if you're playing live, if you're playing an amp modeling amp, just raise the input gain on that, or just on your overdrive, if you have one, just give it a little bit extra juice. Because these pickups, like I said, they sound great and they're totally usable. But, again, if I'm going to be reviewing this thing and giving it a rating, it's got to meet the criteria. And really just the neck pickup, it just falls that short. And it sucks to say because I freaking love this guitar. I would absolutely give it a perfect if the circumstances were different. But like I said, I'm just nitpicking. I'm sure somebody else who had the same guitar probably be like, bro, what are you talking about? This is easily a perfect. So would I recommend, picking up a Firefly ML just like this one? Abso-freaking-lutely. But unfortunately, by the time I even recorded this video, this guitar is well already sold out and has been for quite some time. But they do have other MLs in stock if you'd like to check it out. I'll leave a link to their website in the description below if you want to check one out for yourself, or some of their other guitars as well. But I gotta say, Firefly, they absolutely killed it with this guitar. Knocking it out of the park is an understatement. Just really impressed me with this guitar. And I gotta say, this is probably my most favorite Firefly I've ever gotten to date. But I do have other Fireflies that I'm going to be doing reviews on. If you could see behind me, I have the Firefly Stealth and then the EVH. So if you don't want to miss those reviews, don't forget to hit the subscribe button now and leave a like on this video. And of course, if you guys have Firefly guitars, if you happen to have this exact one, or even another ML for that part, let me know in the comment section below. I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts. But alright, that's going to be it for the video, guys. I will see you in the next video. Have a good one, everybody.